Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, and you're watching Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And joining me, as always, is my co-host from the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks podcast, Rebellious D. It's good to have you back, D. How you doing today?
Man. Ready to rock. Let's get into it, man.
Same here, man. And today we're reviewing episode 7 of Stargirl season 2. Summer School Chapter 7. And before we get into today's review, make sure that you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, and you hit that bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new content here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And D, like you always say,
podcast in the description. Like, follow, subscribe. We need you guys to get on that. Everything you do here helps the channel. And thanks for watching.
That's right. So before we get into today's review, because D, you weren't here with me last week, I just want to ask you, and I want you to, let everybody who watches these reviews know what your opinion of last week's episode where they had the giant fight. What was your opinion of that?
Absolutely fantastic. Just the camera angles, the choreography, it was just phenomenal. The blending of special effects with physical effects it was amazing. Yeah. Wonderful episode. That ending too, absolutely icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting to see where everything is going now since we're on this week's episode. Of course, everybody's trying to figure out where Eclipso is. He's hiding around the town as the little boy that we saw at the start of season 1. I mean, not start of season 1, at the start of season 2. And he's just wandering the streets. Nobody knows who he is. Everybody just thinks that he's a little kid. And it was just interesting just seeing him interact with people around town, and nobody knows that this is really Eclipso. Yvette, she ends up encountering him. I mean, not Yvette. I don't know why.
Yeah, I know.
Yolanda.
Yolanda
ends up encountering him, and
who's Yvette?
Go ahead, D.
Who's Yvette?
I don't know who Yvette is. I don't know why I said that. I don't know.
I tried to back you up too. Anyways,
I was just
carry on.
I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it was just interesting seeing everything that Yolanda has been going through. We've been getting this since the start of season 2, and it kind of, like when water is boiling in a pot, it's like it was finally filling over. And
oh yes,
it was just wild, man. Now D, let me ask you this, because Brainwave, he's been inside of Yolanda's head for a while now, and he reveals to her that before he was killed, he put something in her head so that way that he'll always be there. Now later on in the episode, we see that we don't know if this is Brainwave that's inside her head or if this is Eclipso messing with her. What do you think is going on?
Oof, I definitely it is an interesting way if it is Brainwave finding a way to stay relevant, I'll say, for now. But I think it's just Eclipso running game, because he actually encountered her early in the episode, like you stated. I think this is him playing on her fears.
Yeah.
And breaking the team apart from the inside is what it seems like. But we know we're running out of episodes.
Yeah.
So I guess this is her moment, or it's gonna be her defining moment, maybe, that comes up.
Yeah, and something else I wanted to touch on, because Yolanda, she comes from a very religious household, and when Henry Jr. was telling her that, I'm burning, it symbolizes I don't know how religious you are, or how religious some of our viewers are, but him saying that he's burning, obviously he's in hell. And this is really messing with her, because she's just he wasn't really that bad of a person. And the things that he did do, he did apologize for them, but he was being manipulated by Cindy into doing all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? He never wanted to, get the picture of her and post it. It was all Cindy that was pushing Henry Jr. to do this. But just seeing Brainwave kill Courtney and killing the pastor. Now, something else that I thought was going to happen was when Yolanda had turned into what is not Black Cat,
Wildcat?
Wildcat. I don't know what I'm thinking, bro. I was thinking
reel it back in, big guy.
Yeah, I was gonna call her Black Cat, then I was gonna call her Wild.
Little Felicia?
Yeah.
Little Felicia Hart?
But yeah, when she had turned into Wildcat, I thought that it was all a trick that was being played on her, and that she ended up killing the pastor at the church. That's what I thought was going to happen.
Oh, Lord.
But then we end up finding out that, it was just all in her head. And Courtney, she ends up showing up, and Yolanda's just like, why did you choose me to be Wildcat?
And she was basically just dissing all her friends and stuff. That was wild.
Yeah.
Like, what were you going to do, Rick? Why didn't you finish all of it? He was like, my hour was up. She was like, was it though?
Yeah, was it? Like, what you going to do?
She hit my man with the trap. Was it though?
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense because it's like he did let Solomon Grundy escape. And then, but at the same time, his rebuttal was, it's like, I ran out of power, which we know he didn't. He could have killed. It's just that, he didn't kill. He didn't.
But the scenario was different, and it's interesting that she feels this way because Brainwave was one of the top 3 evil. I mean, they were all super evil, but
yeah.
I put what was her name? Tigress and Sportsmaster.
Yeah,
they weren't real. They were lower tier villains, but like Brainwave, the Dragon King, and
Icicle.
Yeah, like those guys were murderers.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting.
And like, the difference between Solomon Grundy and Brainwave is that Brainwave was about to kill her. So that's the reason why she killed him. You know
exactly.
Because if she didn't, then she would have ended up dying. Whereas with Solomon Grundy, Rick had beat Solomon Grundy, but it's like he felt bad because you see that Solomon Grundy, like he was
being used. He was basically like a pet.
Yeah, exactly. Like a pet. I mean? Like he has the mind of a child. Yep. So he didn't know any better. And Brainwave, like I said, he was going to kill Yolanda. So that's the reason why she had to do what she did. And of course, this is similar to what we talked about in Man of Steel and what we talked about in Jupiter's Legacy, which our Jupiter's Legacy review is here on the channel. Make sure you check that out.
It doesn't get enough respect.
It doesn't, but it's like sometimes heroes, they have to do the unthinkable, because if they don't, then it's like, then they can end up dying. And same thing like in Man of Steel, where it's just like he killed Zod, because if he didn't kill Zod, then Zod would have killed that family. It's like,
exactly.
Sometimes you have to get your hands dirty.
Yes,
and it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It's like
necessary.
It's necessary.
But I understand too, with Yolanda being young and what she was already put through, a lot of trauma with the pictures going around in season 1 or prior to season 1, and it makes sense that she's vulnerable, and then she ends up killing us. She is a wreck for good, and then her parents basically damn near disowned her, made her stay in a room. So it's just a lot going on for her. But Brainwave, if she had been older, like an adult hero would understand. Yeah, like this guy's pure evil. Like you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Didn't Brainwave take Henry's body over or try to or something?
No. He was just manipulating Yolanda, but Henry, he had already killed Henry.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. He killed Henry.
Yeah, he had already
for his power, right?
Something like
like he absorbed his portion of the power or something like that.
Yeah, he needed Henry's power in order.
So it was just like, this guy's pure evil, bro.
Yeah. And he killed Henry's mom, which we found out in season 1 that was Starman's sister, and you know what I'm saying. So like they were all related. Something else too that I wanted to touch on is that we end up getting Barbara, asking questions about Shade, because it's like she sees like something dripping from the ceiling and whatnot, and now also to Courtney, she's still trying to power up the staff because there is some juice coming back to it, but it's still not strong enough. And luckily, there was enough juice so that way that it was able to save Yolanda from being under that spell that Eclipso was doing to her. But yeah, it was very dark at the end of the episode. I mean, not dark, but just kind of sad, because it's like Courtney, she had been calling Yolanda all night, and then Yolanda's mom answers the phone, and she's just like, she doesn't want to speak to you. Now, this is something I want to ask you. Like, how much do you think that it's Yolanda doing what she wants to do, or this is her mom that's just like, I'm cutting you off from everybody. Because we see how
her mom.
Yeah, we see how she acted in the church.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a scenario where, you know, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Her mom sees her daughter as one thing at this point, and it's just kind of toxic. Yeah. You know, like, she doesn't care. It's like, if you don't want to be friends with these people, then I'm going to use this as my own ammunition. Yeah. You know, and push a wedge even further. Even like the father, like you said in the church, like, Jesus, lady.
Yeah. She's like,
where are you going with this?
Yeah, she's already been through enough. And like, that's my whole thing when we did our review for season 1, where it's like, you know, and that's the reason why I love Yolanda so much, because it's like, yes, everybody has been through something, like they all have their own hardships, but it's like Yolanda, I feel like she went through the worst out of all of them, because it's like everybody in that school saw her naked and she was embarrassed. Yeah. Remember, she was like one of the smartest kids at the school. She was running for school president and all this stuff, and she was embarrassed like that by Cindy. And I just want to say up here, like, sexting is wrong. Sexting is it's wrong, but it's just like, and let me take that back. What I wanted to say is that if somebody sends you pictures of themselves and they trust you enough to send you that stuff, it's
super confidential.
Yes, it's super confidential. That isn't for you to share with the world. That isn't for you to share with anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is only for you. And it's just messed up that Yolanda, she was in love with Henry, and Henry really did care about her. But again, it was one of those things where it's just like, Henry already knew who Cindy was, and it's like their families were, you know, together and whatnot. And it's just like, hey, if you don't do this, then you're gonna get messed up. So it's just one of those things. But yeah, if somebody sends you nudes, don't share them with anybody. That's just for you specifically. And I like to live by this rule where it's like, if I'm not talking to the person anymore, then I just go ahead and delete them, because it's just like, we just live in a world now where it's like your phones can get hacked and all that other stuff, man. And that person, they felt comfortable to send you that stuff, and nobody else should see it. So with that being said, that's all that I have to say. D, before we wrap this thing up, what is your final rating for this episode, and what are your final thoughts?
Once again, I'm gonna give this episode a 7 out of 10. I feel like the people parts are very important, especially when you're telling a story. You can't just have all the action the whole time. They did give us a significant amount last week. And it's just, this is a super important moment for the show to see where Yolanda goes, and if she can steady her own ship, because apparently the team is gonna, you know, there's so much going on with Beth's parents. Rick's just chilling. You know what I mean? Everybody's doing some courts, kind of, you know, falling for old boy and trying to balance act, kind of like a Peter Parker kind of situation going on. Yeah. And it's just a lot going on, and they're going to need Yolanda. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. We're coming up on the finale here soon, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's 13 episodes. Yeah, and this is episode 7. For me, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed the message that they were trying to tell in this episode, where, and this is something else that's motivational to everybody that's watching, but it's just like, if you ever feel like that you're suffering or you don't have anybody to talk to, you should always reach out to the people that care about you. And like, that's one of the things that I liked about this episode, was that the fact that Courtney saw that her friend was struggling, and she was just like, let's talk with the team, so that way that you could let them know what's going on, because it's like, we all care about you and we want to be here for you. And I understand why the rest of the team, especially Beth, because it's just like, when Yolanda had said something to Beth, like, you know, you're not going to be able to kill anybody. I'm just like, man, Beth needs to get better in hand-to-hand combat before she does anything, because she, like you said, D, she's just a tech person. But my whole thing is that if Beth was by herself and she's being cornered by whatever villains, it's just like, she has to be able to take care of herself. And that's the reason. And this goes back to My Hero Academia. And, you know, if you haven't watched My Hero Academia, check it out, because it's a really good anime.
Yeah, you're missing out.
It's like Uraraka, you know, she She had
That's
her
a good
quirk.
call.
She had her quirk, but she wasn't good when it came to hand-to-hand combat. So she went out and she learned. So that way that whenever she did encounter these situations where she was on her own, she would be able to defend herself. And like, that's just something that I hope that we see Beth do, because it's just like, yeah, she's super intelligent. Yeah, she's the tech person, but I just don't want her to be in a situation where it's like she's cornered and nobody's there to save her. Because like you saw in last week's episode when she was fighting against Artemis, it's just like Artemis had her.
Hands down.
You know what I'm saying?
Now, the one comp I'll make to Beth is she's a poor man's Gear or Richie from Static Shock.
Yeah.
Like Richie he had more tech at his disposal, but like all she has is basically his the goggles. The goggle, you know what I'm saying? It's like she has his database basically, and that's it. But like Gear was another one where he kind of gets a little bit of shine throughout the story once he gets his superhero gear and stuff like that. So it's just like maybe we'll see Beth kind of get gadgets as it goes along, or maybe Dr. Midnighter will become her kind of like an apprenticeship once they finally free him. Maybe that's where they're going with her story. I could definitely see that happening. So I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, I just thought that it was really thoughtful that Courtney was trying to bring her together with the team, and it's sad that it's like she feels the need to distance herself from everybody, and she ends up leaving the JSA because she's just scared. I mean, like the only thing that's on her mind is the fact that she killed Henry Brainwave, and she didn't kill Henry Jr. And like that's the thing, like his dad killed him, but the reason why she thinks about him is because remember Brainwave, he turned himself into Henry Jr. So that way that he could try and kill Yolanda, and then Yolanda ended up killing him because she knew that he killed Henry Jr. So it's just one of those things where it's like I understand why, because it's like that was somebody that she loved, and that was somebody that she was starting to forgive too, because she knew that he had been put up to getting the photo and whatnot. I can't. Yeah, he did. He did ask for the photo, but it was just like when he asked for it, Cindy was there.
Cindy was behind it.
Yeah, Cindy was right there. So you know what I'm saying? And like he said, he didn't want to do it. Like she forced him to do this. So yeah, that's what I give this episode. Let us know in the comments what you thought about this week's episode. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What you're expecting to see next? D, let them know where they can find you at in social media land.
That's going to be rebellious_D23 at Instagram.com. As always, thank you for watching. Like, follow, subscribe to the channel, and Banks. Blue Valley gonna need you soon. You only got a couple weeks to get there. Tell them where they can find you at.
Hey, you can find me, your hero Benjamin Banks, at KingBenji_Banks on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on Facebook at Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to pop up. If not, then I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. Thank you again for watching this review. Make sure that you check out some more of our reviews that we have here on the channel. Also, check out our podcast where we drop new episodes every Tuesday, with the video of that episode being up here on the channel that Friday. Like I always say, keep that pinky up, stay positive. We'll see you next time on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Peace.
Thanks again, everybody, for watching another episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the channel. Podcast, we got that too. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit that bell for further episodes and notifications. Thanks a lot to our patrons. And if you don't mind, join the Patreon. We'll be having new specials coming up soon.